If you're new to FM26 or just new to FM in general, the tactics system might be giving you a little bit of a headache. So I thought I'd do a little bit of a tactical rundown, tactical tutorial for the game and help you to get your tactics off to a winning start for both beginners and slightly more advanced players. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So we've got a completely fresh save here in front of us, and you'll normally be prompted in your inbox to get into your tactics straight away. My first tip here is do not do that. The first thing you'll look at is your first team squad so we can work out a tactical direction. So go into here and get your squad sorted by current ability. If you are new, obviously if you've been around a while, you can make you'll figure out these star ratings are a little bit flexible, but let's keep it basic. So we've got 4 players here who are outstanding. We've got a left wing back, a right wing back, a channel midfielder who plays as an AMC, and a striker who is a target forward. So that's going to be where we're going to start building our tactic from. Now, when we go into the tactics, which if you've not been here before, you can find through match day and tactics, it will prompt you to set up a tactic using the preset tactics. And to be honest, it's not the worst idea in the world. So you'll find you've got your tactical stars down here. We are finding that some of these are a bit meta as well, which is a little bit helpful. So with what we've got the 2 wing backs, the attacking midfielder that's going to attack that we need to focus on, and we've got the wing backs, the target forwards. So I think we're going to start by building a Route 1 tactic. I think that will work out really well for us. We are going to start by just making sure we've read all of this because it's all very helpful. But essentially, this is going to be, as you'd expect, direct football. But it's going to use the fullbacks. Also, because we've got 2 fullbacks, we're going to be using 4 at the back. So we can go to the in possession. We know that the 2 fullbacks are going, but we also know we've got an attacking midfielder. So we don't want to play a 4-3-3 that takes our attacking midfielder out of the game because he's the best player in our squad. So maybe we're going to go for a 4-2-3-1 so we can make use of him. That's probably our best bet. And then for an out of possession, you might want to drop to a 4-4-1, a 4-4-1-1 with 2 DMs. That might be a tactic you might want to start looking for with this team. So we can start with that, and then you'll see you've got this screen here. Now, best thing to do is to quick pick your best 11, just because it'll give you an idea of who the best players are in your team. And for some reason, it's not put our best striker in. So we can see here that we've got one of our best players is missing from our starting 11, which is Christian Benteke. So we'll put him in there just because we know that's what he does well. And we can start looking at how we make him a better participant in the team. So we know he's a target forward. If he's a target forward, he needs someone to head the ball down to when we're in possession. So perhaps what we want to do with him is have a couple of guys in behind who can play as an inside forward. We've got a guy here. We've got a guy here. They can both be the inside forward. We know that Pirani wants to be the attacking midfielder, so we can go with that there. And that will give us this as our in-possession tactic. We can see that Pirani and Benteke have got a good relationship already, which will help us. And then out of possession, we can see that these guys here are dropping back, which might not necessarily be their wheelhouse, and that's where you can maybe start tweaking. But before we go any further in the tweaking of this, because this will be a perfectly acceptable formation, this will probably achieve what we're supposed to achieve in the league. But if you go to team instructions, and this is my favourite new addition to the tactics screen, we can see in possession here, when we're in defence, we get to see the shape of our team. So we've got these 2 defensive midfielders here who are stepping back, and they'll move around, so we can kind of see how we look in defence and how we look in midfield, how we look in attack with possession, and then out of possession again, you can see exactly how we'll build up play or how we'll defend play. Always a good place to start, because once you start moving stuff around, so for example, if we look at the out of possession defensive here and sort of commit that to memory, and if we take this fella here, Payalotta, out of possession, and instead of saying you're going to be a screening defensive midfielder, you're going to be a dropping defensive midfielder, then we go into this screen again, and you can see he's now come back into this back 5, and it gives you something you can work with to know exactly how this team's going to line up in and out of defence, which can be quite good. Bear in mind that if you've got guys moving too far in too many different phases, it will start to tire them out. So do keep that in mind. That'll be very helpful for you. Obviously, mentality-wise, if you're worse than the team you're playing, go cautious. If you're better, go positive. If it's an even fight, go balanced. kind of tweak them there. If you're playing a team that's completely useless, go very attacking. If you're playing a team that's far better than you, go very defensive. Really is that simple. And again, build the style around the players you've got. So if you've got a lot of players who are good passers, and the best way to find that out once you're assessing, when you're sort of really getting into assessing your squad, is to go into here, you look at your attributes and go through them and just kind of see roughly where your best players lie. So here we've got a lot of players who are decent physically, and we've got a lot of players, we can see mentors, maybe the mentors aren't there, so you don't want to do anything that's too grindy, perhaps. If you've got a lot of players with good technical skills, particularly passing, which we do for the MLS, but we don't just in general. Like I think if you had a lot of 15s here amongst your best players, amongst your best 11, I would actually strongly recommend going for something more tiki-taka. And likewise with the physicals, if you've got a lot of very strong players, we've got a few here, then you could maybe consider something control possession. If you go for, again, the physicals actually, if you're in the pace column, you've got a lot of quick players, wing play might be for you. But you can also look at this from the point of view of like defensive. If you've got a lot of players who are good defensively, but then you switch into your attacking and you see that not a lot of our players are very good attacking wise, even our attacking players. Maybe you want to focus on doing something a bit more defensive or a bit more route one, which is why we're going for what we're doing here. So that's where we're at with just basic tactics. And once you sort of start getting comfortable with this, you can start tweaking roles to make sure you've got the best players in the best positions. You can start breaking your shape, which you just do by going to the in or out of possession and dragging your player around. So, for example, if we look at this guy, Pelgo, he's not really able to play as a wide midfielder. So maybe we can get something more out of him by having him playing as a winger. But obviously, before we sort of confirm that as a change, then we'll go to our out of possession tab and we'll just see how he's going to line up in defense. Is he going to go wandering because he is going to sort of push a little bit further up? So is that going to leave any gaps that you sort of want to concern yourself with? That could be a question that we'd have going forward. So that's the basic setup stuff. Obviously, like I said, have a little tweak, have a tinker. Just always make sure you check it in this team instruction screen in and out of possession, just to make sure players are going where you want them to. But also, you want to look at your instructions because they're going to be very helpful when you're tweaking tactics. So all of these will tweak how things work. So for example, if we look at the out of possession here, this is how we line up in a low block. But if we switch that up to a mid block, which I couldn't find because I was looking in the wrong place. So we're in a mid block now. So if we go to a high press, you can see on the left-hand side, faded out, just how players are moving. So if we go with a low block, Benteke drops back into that lower third. Likewise, defensive line, have a little play with that, see how much you want to push players and kind of feel free to go back and forth. Triggering a press again is going to affect how you do things when the other two have got the ball, but you won't see it here. But have a play and make sure you've got everything here kind of figured out how you want it to go. So as well, if we go to the in possession here, let's pretend we're on an attack. Let's go to an on attack thing here. So we might want to be more direct, and that'll affect how players move around. We want to be less direct, and you can see it's largely Benteke moving, which is worrying. And then you sort of just have a tweak, see how things work. And pro tip at the moment with the current build of the game, have your shots from distance probably discouraged, because otherwise you will just shoot for forever. But the key ones are things like this. So our attacking width is currently standard. If we go wider, you can see the players move apart. If we go narrower, you can see they sort of start to come together a bit closer. But the important thing, like I said, have a tweak and make sure that you're always checking back with your instructions to see exactly where those players are going to be standing at any given point in the game. So, for example, if you're down the right wing, how many of these players are coming across? We can probably make Schnegg here, for example, come further across in possession with making him, say, a playmaking wingback, which will then, when we are here, bring him into the box. So, again, where do you want your players? If you want to overload your box, that could be a good way of doing it. So it's a very kind of it's actually more straightforward than it looks. I will give you one pro tip, which has been hard learned. When you are swapping players around, either in a game or before a game, always put it on combined before you switch anything around, because what you'll find will happen is, so for example here, let's just say I want to swap Schnegg and Pelgo there, right? That's a straight swap. They'll be in the same positions here and out of possession. But If I decide in possession to make that swap back, then out of possession, they're still the wrong way around. So just a quick hard-earned tip, but the tactic system you'll find very straightforward once you get into it. When you start looking to build your own tactic from scratch, again, always start with your 3 best players, but then try and think about you guys all watch football, you'll all logically know what works. If you see something like this where 2 players are coming too close together on the combined, something's not working. You can also take advantage of the advice here, so you'll get a tactics evaluation from your assistant manager. So it's saying 2 inverting wide roles should not be used on the same side of the pitch, which makes sense because I've got Pelgo and Schnegg both moving inside. And then you'll get advice out of possession as well that you can use to make your tactic, but it really does tell you how to just build a tactic at this point. The other thing to pay attention to is the upcoming match stuff. It will give you advice that you can implement with little tweaks to your instructions. So if a team is weak down one side, it will tell you to attack down that side. All very helpful, but it is a very quick tactical tutorial. There's not a lot really to teach you in terms of tactics on this game because they've made it so straightforward. But if you were looking for a bit of guidance, for a bit of reassurance that it really is just that simple, it really is that simple. What I would say is do not make multiple changes to positions from the preset at once. If you are new, sort of tweak one thing at a time, play a match, see if that works. If it works, change something else, and so on and so forth until you get that kind of dream tactic. There are going to be metas that appear that you'll find by looking on the Reddit or the forums or things, but as I said, pretty straightforward for a tutorial for this one. Just have an experiment. Don't be afraid to lose games. You will get sacked at some stage. Everyone does. But you'll find that tactic that works. And then when you bring in newer players, again, check those sort of top 3 or 4 players in your squad team, in your squad screen, on your just kind of regular selection view or for your regular reports view, whichever one you use. I've got a custom view that I use. So just keep checking this. And if you find you sign a player who bumps up to the top, rearrange your tactic to make use of them and just make sure your best players are in their best positions, doing their best work in their best role, and build everything else off them. So if that's been helpful, please smash the like button, subscribe for more tips that I promise you there are more on the channel that are a bit more in-depth than this, but I just wanted to get the video out there. I've been Chasing Lanely. Thank you for watching. Leave me comments down below if you've got anything else you've discovered. And until next time, stay safe and have a good one.